Welcome back for another episode of Creating Your Own Game. Today we're going to look at how to make a dark cave environment, and we're going to create some new gameplay mechanics that are going to help you navigate it. So Safety Puppet is already equipped with a few new mechanics, such as crouching into a safe position, using his flashlight-saber, which will light the way. You can see a nice illumination there. And a death animation, where as the character takes damage, the health bar will go down, and the shoes get darker, and if I touch this again, he will die with an animation. Whoosh. And a respawn. So how does all this work? First thing you need to do is zoom in to your puppet using L1 and X until you can see the logic for your character. It's always going to be a little trophy square here. L1 and X again will open it up. Here I can see I have controller logic, sound effects, follow behavior, all that stuff. A lot of this is already in there. Now if I L1 and X over controller logic, this is where I've started to add in a few things. Here we have, let's start with crouch. I'll L1 and X over that. We'll just do one gadget at a time. Now the crouch is inside of a microchip. In order to create a microchip, you go into gadgets, then you go over to microchip. And this whole panel you're seeing here is a microchip. It's a way to hold all this stuff together. So I can press L1 and X to open it, and L1 and square allows me to name it. So if I'm making a crouch chip, I might call it crouch. I can give it a different color so it's recognizable and a symbol. And now it becomes really easy to find your logic. I can't recommend this enough. So here I have a node. Every microchip you ever make, put a node in there because it allows other people to plug and play, and yourself. So all I've set up here, L1 and square to open this up, is an input that when R3 is pressed, left side is always input, right side is always output. So when R3, you're the input, so R3, you press R3, and it outputs to the node. Cool. So you pressed R3. Now instead of just crouching and staying down until you let go of the button, I've actually created a keyframe of him crouching where it's being toggled between crouching and not crouching by a selector. So when you press R3, it toggles between state A and B and moves to next output. State A being normal standing around. State B is a keyframe. And all I did to animate this was click on Edit Keyframe, and I can do things such as, how about we have his helmet glow just a little bit when he's crouching. Just a little bit more. There. And then I'll stop recording. So, normally, no crouch. When I press R3, it will input change nodes into the keyframe, which includes now the glowing helmet as well as the crouch. So you can test this, go into play mode, select our safety puppet, and now when I crouch, you can actually see the head glow a little. So you saw how I edited the keyframe in real time. Now the lightsaber. This thing is a lot of fun. You can also play test by going to mode. Hit playtest here. And now I can playtest and still see the logic. When I press square, it fires up the keyframe and turns on the paint. When I press square again, it turns off. In later episodes we're going to have this actually attack, but for now it's going to serve as a handy flashlight when we make our cave. So how does the flashlight work? If you look into, let's close out this microchip, stay organized, the flashlight-saber. I've labeled it with a light bulb so it's easy to identify. I'm going to make it nice and bright. I'll make it white. There you go. L1 and X. So here's my flashlight-saber. This is just a random extra microchip. I don't even need that. So, again, a node. When you press square from this controller logic, so L1 square, and the first one here, when you press square, it outputs into this node. And then it goes to a counter. I love the counter. And the counter, by default, is just a gadget that counts from 0 to 1. Which is really useful to me because you can think of 0 as no and 1 as yes or not, or 1 as activated. So your counter, you grab it. Here I have when the button's pressed, the counter increases from 0 to 1, and now that it's 1, when the counter's full, change states. Again, I'm using a selector. So normally you're in state A, which is off. Now the true state of my, if I get rid of premium invisibility, is that the lightsaber is always there. So our normal state, our state A, is that I'm actually keyframing off the lightsaber. When you move to next output, lightsaber ignition sound. So if I press play, let me reset the timer here. Let's grab this guy right here. Press square to ignite, and I've changed over into that state. So the selector is great because if I just wire up, for example, the power on that paint, like right here, I went into it, and you can actually power things on and off with a keyframe. So I went in and powered it up and turned it off with a selector so I'm not stuck holding the square button the whole time. Very useful. So now we have a crouch and a flashlight. And as you can see, I have death animation, which we'll get into after we make this cave. So I'm actually going to grab my puppet and drag him forward. I grab him with R2, and I'm using the left stick just to move him forward. And now I'll press R1 on the puppet, and left stick forward drags me to him, nice and smoothly. So that's how I move around the level. So here I have the transformation of a simple asset that's going to make the whole cave. I started out going to sculpture mode, and I used a cone. Very simple. There's your cone. I took the cone, and I went in, I pressed X, L1 and X to zone in, and I went to tools, and I actually stretched out the cone. And that's how I got that stalactite look. See how quick this is? Incredible what you can accomplish in a short time in Dreams. Next, I'll L1 and R2 clone it. Maybe I'll shrink one. I'm making like, let's say, a nice little cluster here. I select all of them by holding X and just dragging across. Group. And I'll scale this up. I'm gonna L1, R2, clone it. And if I hold L2, I can actually rotate and get upside down. Press triangle to perfectly realign it. And now you've got your stalactites here. All this stuff that you would associate with a cave. And we can move and permutate this pretty quickly. So our water level is about to become a beach cave level, or just a water cave. And you'll notice, I'm going to do this all with one asset just as a proof of concept. Maybe a square and some stalactites. But we can make an entire wall here using tiny ones, giant ones, rotating. And in 20 seconds time I can create a cave roof. And then I'm going to turn the lights down. So I'm copy and pasting this. Let's really... I want some shadow. I want this to be dark. Hard to see. Good. One more clone. Okay. Now, if I go into play mode, let's grab Safety Pump and take a look around. Already, you're starting to get a little more darkness. It would be much more interesting if we had a bunch of different assets. Let's make a quick rock, just so you can practice sculpting again. I don't know why this looks radioactive, but let's roll with it. I'm gonna do that. Just rotate a little clip around. I'm actually really enjoying this geometric shape here. I'm gonna just let that lie. Ah, the rock is green because of my lightsaber. If I turn off the lightsaber, it'd be a different color. Let's make it a interesting color. No need to be boring. I'm gonna rotate and clone it. I'm pressing up on the D-pad to really just scale it up. And I'm going to actually close off the entrance a little bit more, just to allow us to play with light. There, I'm going to leave the tiniest opening for you to walk into. There. Break some of these out here. And just by all this movement, it's got a lot better. Now this guy, he has a jetpack, so he has a lot less trouble moving around the environment. The gameplay mechanics you choose are going to make or break your game. Because, like, that was a certain death for Safety Puppet. That is super dark. Okay, time to test out the flashlight-saber. Wow. So now, we have this light source mechanic, where before we're even attacking with it, why not have a flashlight-saber? Why just have a flashlight? And when I turn off, you can see the water. I want to lower a little.